because I don't know, did you see the reports that were out today? Newsweek, here's what they had today. Massive Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T outage hits international users. This really was not making the news earlier in the day. I mentioned it on my radio show today. This did not, however, make the news that I would have thought it would have made. Kind of got overshadowed with everything else that's going on. But once again, we got another cell phone problem. Now, this again was for U.S. people who were overseas and got an international plan. And apparently, according to multiple news reports, well, I shouldn't say multiple, a few, Newsweek being one of them, massive Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T outage hits international users. What is this all about, folks? It seems as though every time we turn around, there's something going on with cell coverage. Joining me to discuss this and more before we get ready for this debate is Chris Hoare. Chris, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me on tonight, Brannon. Big night.
Yeah, it is a big night. So, what do you? By the way, you think we're wise to just honor CNN's request and not not fall into some kind of potential trap here?
Well, we saw what happened to Fox News, Brannon. So, that's something you want to avoid. I don't know if CNN will be litigious, but I think you guys are making the smart move. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, we're trying to be wise here. Okay, so what do you make of this, Chris? Massive Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T outage hits international users. What is going on?
I mean, it's hard to say. The carriers keep these excuses pretty close to their chest, or whatever's going on pretty close. They typically blame other people, software upgrades. That's kind of what I've seen tonight. Like I saw AT&T essentially blaming some unnamed third party in Europe. But look, I mean, this is the fourth major outage we've seen from these guys this year, and it seems to be affecting millions of people overseas. We've been hearing from our customers who were in Paris for the Olympics. And we could only hear from them because they had bivy sticks or sat phones that were, of course, working when the cell phones weren't. But we've also, in the last few hours, Brannon, we've heard that AT&T customers in the Miami area have also started experiencing outages on their phones. So I don't know if this thing's going to keep spreading or not, but it is like the number 3 or 4 big outage this year. And it's just another reason that you want to have a backup for your communications, especially when you're in a foreign country. You don't speak the language necessarily. How do you get a new phone if you're over there? I don't know. That could be very, very confusing. But again, our customers who had bivy sticks or satellite phones had no service interruption of any kind as usual, and were able to use those phones instead of their cell phones.
So do you ever remember this many outages in the last 12 months as we've had? Do you think it's hacking, or do you think it's predictive programming, getting people used to the idea of things going down so they can pull it down when they want?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised by anything, but, to me, I mean, what makes the most sense is that there's some kind of hacking going on here. We've seen a lot of that this year with hackers attacking the utility grid here in the U.S., the water supply, air traffic control. The list goes on and on and on. And, the cell phone networks are very vulnerable, obviously. You're just looking at today and what's happened the last 12 months. And so I think, whatever's causing this, it is a reminder that we need to be prepared, whether we're at home or abroad, with backup communications that we can rely upon. And Brannon, at dogtalk.com, you can still get a free satellite phone.
Worldviewtalk.com.
I'm sorry, Worldview Talk.
Worldviewtalk.com. There you go.
I'm all caught up here. Worldviewtalk.com. You can still get a free satellite phone with activation. That's the only place in the country where you can get that. Anyone else is going to charge you $1,000 to $2,000 for the phone, and then you're still going to have to pay for service. So, these satellite phones are free at worldviewtalk.com at the moment, but we're running low. It's that time of year, Brannon.
What do you mean you're running low? Why?
Well, Apple and Google and whatever, they make millions of their phones every year. But satellite phones, there's only 2 main satellite phone providers, and each of them only makes a few 100,000 phones a year. And when they're out until next year. So you don't want to be left in the dark. I mean, we still got a long way to go this year. We've got hurricane season coming up. Goodness knows what's going to happen around the election. All kinds of strange things could happen that the government controls. I think we're all aware of that possibility. And with all these terrorists flooding across the border, I mean, God forbid something should happen, but I think the best way to be prepared and not be a victim is to be prepared for yourself, your family, and your friends. And along with everything else that your viewers have in their prep kit, an emergency form of communications is as essential as anything else.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Well, here's ours right here. Worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com. Get the phone for free when you sign up for one of their very, very reasonable plans. All right, before I play some more video tonight, different news stories, but you got to hear before we have this countdown to this debate. I got some news stories I want to share with you. But first, let me show you here, worldviewtalk.com, one of our sponsors. Again, they only pay us, folks, if you purchase something. So again, we're very careful and we discriminate. We do. We discriminate when it comes to the sponsors. They got to be good companies that we want to be with, products that we want to use, that we do use, because people are not going to buy junk. They're not going to buy something that's not something they really need. So I would say almost all of our companies that we work with are all affinity, meaning we only get paid if you purchase. So be sure to use it, that URL, worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com. You get cell phones that are not tracking you. They do not store your data. Cell phones that do not store your data. Then we have the satellite phones. Use the red arrow to go across, see more. You also have the Faraday bags to protect them. The generators. I have the generator, the solar generator. I have the Echo Delta Pro 400. That's what's in the corner sitting over here. I have a Generac, but if that goes down with cut of the gas line, then I have this as a backup to my backup. If you want to ask questions, go to the top of the page. You'll see that 800 number at the top of the page in red. Use that. That's exclusive to us. We get credit when you purchase using that number, so please use that number, 1-866-738-3224, 1-866-738-3224. All right, anything else you want to say about any of these, Chris?
Well, yeah, look, I mean, you mentioned briefly the phones there. These phones, like you said, they don't store any data. We hear all too often about cell phone companies providing information to law enforcement about what someone was doing last week or even last year, because they're storing your geographical data. They're tracking you with the GPS, storing that. They're archiving all of your texts, all of your cell phones. Even when you type into a text and you don't actually send that message, that's all archived. Everything is archived, and this can be retrieved and used against you later on. If you've done nothing wrong, Brannon, and in this country we have the presumption of innocence, why are you being tracked by a utility provider? I don't think it's their job to do that. We don't think it's their job to track you and archive all your calls. So at Connector Mobile, which you can see at worldviewtalk.com, you can get a phone service that does not track you. Like if we got a subpoena for one of our clients' text messages or phone calls, we send them a blank piece of paper because we just don't have that record. It's not our business to track you. It's our business to provide you with a communication tool that provides complete and utter privacy. It's your life. It's none of our business. That's how we see it.
Excellent. Well, we agree with that. Worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com. We appreciate you and your company and being a sponsor. So thank you so much, Chris.
Thanks for having me on, Brannon.
You bet. Chris with worldviewtalk.com.